Alright guys, today on Tickle Me Fin is another basic episode. I'm going to show you guys how to build what I call a burn grate, which goes, in our application, goes inside of a commercial firebox for a barbecue restaurant, which I built 6 or 7 commercial smokers for. They wear these things out over time because they burn a fire in them 14, 16 hours a day. So we just replace them as needed. So I figured I'd do a little video about how we're earning that money to put a little bit of money aside every day to put into that sailing kit. You get down there on that Choi Lee and do a refit of some sorts and get out of here. So what I wanted to talk about, I had a Makita cold saw. I'm sure everybody's seen an old stone bladed chop saw. But over time, the cold saw has gotten more inexpensive for the average person. So we had a Makita and it got stolen. So I went to Northern Tool and bought this Clutch brand, and it comes with a blade, and it was fairly inexpensive. I mean, under $300. So I'm gonna show you how this thing works. This thing will cut just like a saw you would if you're cutting a piece of 2x4. Only I'm cutting angle iron. I like to put a piece of wood out here to extend your piece because it'll make the blade last longer. So I'm going to cut a piece here and we'll go to the welding table. And don't forget your safety glasses, because I've had plenty of shit pulled out of my eye. One thing I forgot, that blade is about $100 for a cheap one. So don't jam it into your material. Let the blade do all the work. So there you have it. The cut is fairly square, the blade doesn't bend like a stone saw, and it's cool to the touch. How they work that out, I got no idea. So let's go to the welding table. So getting back to the clutch thing from Northern Tool, which, you know, I'm a big advocate on saving money. So I get a sales ad sent to me, and you know, we've got a Synchro 250, a Miller 250 MIG. I've got a Miller 130 we take out on the job. I got a Powcon, which is a stick and TIG unit, and I got a Miller 130 MIG that I take on the job to weld in ductwork. It's all expensive. This thing here was $175. Well, my portable TIG unit weighs about 60 pounds. This thing, look at this. So Miller makes one called the suitcase welder, but it's like $1,300. I just didn't want to experiment that much on it. This thing was 175 bucks. I can't kill it. I can't kill it. So for the guy who wants a portable scratch TIG, now that is a TIG machine too. Not with a foot pedal, but a scratch TIG and a stick welder for under $200. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I have worked that welder just to test it and have had 0 issues with it. Worth every penny. Not to mention if you got to carry it on the roof like I do. So anyways, let me talk a little bit about welding, if anybody cares. I'm not really a welder. I went to 2 years of body school when I was a teenager. I went into the Navy as an HT, which is a hull technician / ship fitter / damage control / firefighter. Well, I worked on a farm and I already knew how to weld, and they turned me loose in there instead of me working on the docks and stuff. Once they found out that I could use a cutting torch and a welder, they turned me loose. So I'm really self-taught, and then the Navy is like vocational school anyways. And because I was on a subtender, we worked every day. I wasn't part of ship's crew. I was actually in the ship fitter shop, not actually part of ship's crew. So we did a lot of working all the time. There was very minimal sailor type stuff unless you were standing on watch. So if you want to buy a welder like this, and I don't care if you're using an end grinder with a cutoff wheel, you want to build something like this to cook steaks or oysters, whatever, it doesn't make any difference. You can go buy this welder. These rods are 6011. This is a manipulating rod. Anybody can learn how to use this. So what that means is when you strike an arc and you put it down, it'll strike very easily, and then watch the puddle and just kind of whip the puddle in and out of the puddle and move along. Turn up your heat a little bit, buy some scrap steel, practice. Anybody can learn how to do this. It's not that difficult. And then as you get a little more experience, you want to stretch your legs a little bit, buy a TIG unit, because this thing does not cut. It comes with kind of a crappy ground and a stinger. Then you just go buy a scratch TIG unit at the welding store and a bottle of argon and hook it up and learn how to use it. And that's a whole nother, we'll do a video on TIG welding at another point. But this, if you ever just wanted to make something at your house, it doesn't get any easier, really. You just got to practice. It's not rocket science. I've already got this one welded together. Bear with me while I weld it. If you're wondering, yes, I do have one of those fancy self-darkening helmets. I got talked into buying it. It has its uses, but I'm a little bit too old school. And I think my buddy Rich would probably agree. Maybe not. Rich does a lot more welding than I do out there in Hawaii. He's got a company, a line boring company. So I'll stick for now with my old school fiber metal. And of course my hard hat, fiber metal. All right, let's go to the shear and cut a piece of expander. Now the key is with this shear, and any fabrication tools, unless they're designed for it, this expanded is 9 gauge 3/4, which is the gap right here, and it's flat. You notice how the expanded metal is flat, which is, you know, good for most things, especially barbecue stuff, but don't ever, ever, ever stick anything in these tools that is round, because you'll trademark the blades and ruin them. Unless it's designed for it. My brake. There's no trademarks on that handbrake. You don't put anything in there that's not supposed to go in there. So that burn grate was 26 square-ish. So to give yourself a little room to weld, I'm counting on about 25. shear has a squaring edge on it with a ruler. Watch your fingers. This particular shear may look like it came over on the Mayflower, but it runs really well, and it's a Weisong 1010. So basically, it'll cut 10 gauge plate, 10 feet long, all day long. So you throw your expanded on here, giving yourself a little bit of room for play. And the way I do it is, and the nice thing about a 6011 rod is it's real easy to high arc with. So each one of these spots gets a little tack. Every single one of them. Turn the welder up a little bit. Kind of square it up on there how you want it. And you basically just high arc from one tack to the other. And the one thing about every welding application, it's all about the fit. And if we do any videos on TIG welding, aluminum, and stainless, that is especially important. Alright guys, if I weld all that up, that'll be the finished product. You want to put some legs on it to get it up off the ground. You want to put a tab on it with a hole in it and pound a stake so you can raise and lower it by friction. Doesn't make any difference. Flip it over, use it like that, whatever it takes. Alright guys, that was a basic rundown on a burn grate, expanded metal, and stick welding 101. See you later.